Hi, Christine McDaniel here with the Health and Happiness Hacks Wellness Show. And today I have my own naturopathic doctor, Dr. Brooke.
Hi.
Super excited to have her on. She is a wealth of knowledge. Every time I go into her office, she's located in Bird Rock area near La Jolla here in San Diego. And just, it blows my mind how much she knows and how easily things can be fixed with just nutrition and things that we're missing in our bodies, minerals, and she'll go into more detail about all of that. Just natural ways to really course correct things that are wrong with us internally. And I've probably been seeing you a couple of years now?
Somewhere along there. Yeah, it's been a while now.
Yes. So, and I've sent so many people there too. And they always come back to me.
We have our own little group now, I feel like, starting from here, yeah.
I love it. So great. So we'll start by asking you, to tell the audience more about Koi Wellness.
Yeah. In the Health and Wellness Expo, I'm a naturopathic doctor, which I find that a lot of people aren't really clear on what that is. As a naturopathic doctor, I focus on the body's innate ability to heal itself, and we're always trying to figure out what is the root cause of why you may be experiencing certain symptoms, or why you're not living your best self, or why your health isn't as optimized as it could be. So with that, I spend a lot of time with people trying to understand their unique physiology and biochemistry so that I can really hone in on what's going on in your system, and then be able to utilize things like diet, lifestyle, nutrition, hormone balancing, etc., to get the body to realign and actually heal itself. So that's a big part of what I do there, and I feel that one of the confusions for people in the general public is that people don't understand, like I said, what is a naturopathic doctor. So I get this question all the time. Is it like homeopathy? I mean, are you like a health coach? Did you get your degree online? All of it. So I feel probably most of the people watching today, you guys may know what a naturopathic doctor is because you're actively out there seeking health, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people are very confused about what it is. So I answer this question all the time, and I feel it's really important people understand that I did go to medical school. It was a 4-year postgraduate. I did a residency, as all naturopathic licensed doctors do, which is very different than what a naturopath does. Some people can say, "Oh, I'm a naturopath," and they did get an online degree and studied herbs, but it's very different than a naturopathic doctor. So it's just important that wherever you're located watching this show, if you choose to look for somebody to support you with health goals using those modalities, make sure they're actually a licensed doctor, and depending on which state you're in, that may vary. But that's, I think, important for people to understand as part of what I do. So at Koi down in La Jolla, we do consults, which again are how I can help people understand what's going on with themselves, and how I can understand what's unique about what's going on with you. And we spend an hour together, which is much different than your traditional doctor where you spend 10 minutes, right? Yeah. And that's important because that's part of how I get to know what's going on with you and how I understand what your unique picture is. And through all that conversation over the whole hour, I get to really get a big idea of where you're coming from. And then we do specialty lab testing. So lots of things from looking at your nutritional deficiencies, looking at your neurotransmitter balance. I even send people home with a really fun stool collection kits.
Which I've done myself, I'm not ashamed to say.
Right, yeah, those are always a good time. But it's great because it tells, I'm sorry, but what comes out tells me a lot about what's going on the inside. And so those tests are also part of understanding the functionality of what's going on with each person. And then from there, I'm able to really create a comprehensive picture of what's going on. And then we can create these custom treatment plans that say, okay, well, based on these things, maybe we should try tweaking your diet in this way so that we can reduce some inflammation, get some more nutrition in. Let's support your digestive process so that you can actually absorb that nutrition. You're a little depleted here, so let's add some of that in. And it's, it's hard to say generally because everybody's so different, but that's sort of the basic idea. And then with that, because so many of us are often deficient in a lot of things, at Koi Wellness in La Jolla, we do a lot of nutrient vitamin injections. and the nutritional IV therapy, which I love.
Yes.
Love. These I know are so great, right? Because these are an immediate boost of high dose nutrients delivered directly at the cellular level, 100% absorbed, and you can take in a much higher dose this way than you can with a supplement. So you get this immediate boost of nutrition, and it makes, it feels so good. And we do it a lot for people with chronic conditions where they actually they're very depleted because they can't absorb orally, or other conditions where we're fighting a chronic disease that needs that extra support. And people love to do it as a boost. I mean, I do them all the time. If you're sick, oh my gosh, they're so great if you're really sick. You get one of these IVs and it's like you're better the next day.
Nice.
They're awesome.
Wasn't there's a business in Las Vegas that does it mobile for like people that are hungover?
Yeah, Las Vegas, and there might be one in LA now too.
Are you serious?
But yeah, it's the mobile hangover IVs. And of course we have that one too.
What percentage of people are coming in for performance versus a hangover versus a chronic illness on IVs?
I'd honestly say there's probably more people coming in for that performance hangover piece than anything else. I'd say probably, especially in the last few months with the winter season and the cold and flu season, that there's been a lot of people coming in for this being sick. Okay. So that's probably our biggest one right now, is people coming in for the immune bag and what we call the quick cure, which is actually hydrogen peroxide in IV. Yeah, it's totally the same hydrogen peroxide that's in your medicine. Well, I mean, not exactly the same. This one's sterile, so we can inject it. But it's the same, 3% hydrogen peroxide. And when you pour hydrogen peroxide on a cut or a wound and it bubbles up, same thing. You put it in your veins and it's like it goes through and cleans out all the gunk. There's lots of research that supports the removal of viruses, bacteria, fungus. My favorite use is viral infection. So the flu right now, I've had a couple people with the flu this week, huge for them. And also chronic viral infection, that's my favorite one for them. Mm-hmm. So those have been our biggest ones lately. We do have a few regulars that like the hangover one.
Oh, nice. They come in every Monday or something.
They do, so I'm always having that conversation with, maybe we should have a different conversation. But we do have some of those. I love doing them before, if you're going to a wedding or you're going to a girls trip in Vegas or you're going on vacation. I love getting them beforehand.
Because you're getting all those nutrients and vitamins.
Right, yeah. So before you know that you're going to go out and be up late and, eat and drink things you don't normally do, your body is fully loaded and ready to deal with it, so then you don't feel so awful and depleted on the backside. So I love doing it that way.
That's smart. And then I was lucky enough to do them before my full marathon.
Oh, that's right.
Yes,
that's
so the recovery, that helped
too.
with the recovery tremendously.
Yeah.
Just because everything you deplete in those 26 miles, and it was
yeah.
So we did it on Friday. Remember, I did like a Friday afternoon, and then the race was Sunday morning. So
that's right, because you had to travel up north for that one, right?
Yeah, no, that one was local. It was here, but you guys weren't open on Saturdays yet. They are now.
We are now. Yeah, actually, my trainer, now, I can't fully take 100% responsibility, but I'd like to. He is a beast, and he's done all of the epic races.
Like the ultras?
Yeah, the ultras. For not the marathons, but the obstacle course one. Okay. So like the Tough Mudder and the epic races and the Spartans. And he came and got an IV before he went to the Spartan Ultra Beast up in Tahoe last year. Yeah, and he really is a beast, and he earned it for sure. But he did come in first place, I'm just saying.
Whoa, nice!
First place out of everybody, the whole thing, the entire Spartan, not just in his category, not just in his age range, the entire Spartan Ultra Beast, so he came in first.
It needs to be like a testimonial.
I know. I mean, I can't obviously take 100% because he is a machine. That man is a fitness machine, so he obviously did all the work. But we do those performance ones a lot so for him, for some of his other clients, they come in. Lots of marathoners do love the performance before going on a race.
And then how long ago did you start Koi? And so how long has it been around now?
Koi's been open for 1.5 years now. Well, 1 year and 4 months. We just recently celebrated our 1 year anniversary, which is really exciting. Yeah, I've been in practice for 9 years now, and I got the wonderful opportunity that I met our director, and they wanted to open up this facility in the La Jolla area. And so they brought me in so that we could create it, and it's been amazing. It's been quite a journey, and it's been so well received, and It's just wonderful.
Cool. No, yeah. It's again, we send a lot of people your way.
Yes, which I appreciate. Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. And then what do you do? So you're taking care of all these people. You're making them better. What do you do?
I'm trying.
Yeah. You do. What do you do for self-care?
So, I try and do a lot of different things. I, water every day. I make sure that I get in my, I shoot for 80 ounces. It's hard to remember. We have to make a conscious effort. So my water every day. Exercise as often as possible. If I miss my yoga, I'm definitely off. And making sure that I'm physically active every day. I've got my own supplement regimens and, my stash of pills in my desk. And I think the biggest thing is probably making good choices on what I'm eating every day too.
Cool, love it. And then about
though I still love my chocolate.
I know, we all do. I know. I'm trying so hard to cut the sugar out or as much as possible.
Yeah, it's hard.
Because we all know
it
causes inflammation. So I'm
exactly.
I'm thinking more of it from that perspective. I don't want that inflammation, but I keep eating sugar.
Right. Yeah, it's addictive. Sugar's crazy addictive. I mean, it binds to some of the same receptors in the brain as heroin. And so there's a huge addictive component to sugar. And I'm sure most of you have felt it. You go off sugar for a little while and then you have just a little bit. And then it's like this slippery slope where suddenly you're binging on cookies and ice cream every night. And so it is a hard thing to cut out completely because it is so addictive.
Do you have any tips or tricks or like some things you've learned maybe from your clients?
So what I try and do is I use fruit is my biggest thing. If I know if I'm craving something, I'll have a piece of fruit, and that usually satiates me. My one little thing that I'm doing right now is there's a brand of chocolate chips called Lily's brand, and it's sweetened with stevia, which is a healthy sweetener alternative, but don't buy Truvia because it's made by Pepsi and it has aspartame in it, even though it doesn't say that on the label.
Oh, that's scary.
I know, don't get me started on that one. But it's these Lily's brand chocolate chips are sweetened by stevia, so they have no sugar in them. It just has the chocolate. So those have been my little treats. So I have a couple bites of those.
Okay, cool. See, there we go. So we're always finding alternatives to our vices.
Yeah, exactly. And I find paleo desserts have a lot of great options now that you can make these fruit-based and fruit-sweetened little treats that are, they still have calories and fat and all those kinds of things, but they're a much more nutritious alternative to your traditional cookie with all that sugar and fat in it. So
nice, perfect. And as far as reading, maybe tell the audience, I know you probably have a lot of favorite books, but what would be one of your favorites?
I do have a lot of favorite books, and I want to say two, because there are two different directions. One, as far as your health is concerned, gluten, I know everybody knows gluten's a big trendy thing, but really it's a problem, and I see it every day. And there's a book by Wheat Belly, and I'm so sorry, I forgot the author's name. It's a medical doctor wrote it. It's called Wheat Belly. You can Google it, you'll find it. And it's an amazing look at all the research behind wheat and gluten, how it affects us. And it's relatable and translatable to the layman audience. So it's not, some overly complicated, nerdy book, but it's really informative and eye-opening to the importance of what we eat and what's coming in, not just the wheat, but it focuses on the wheat and how that impacts inflammation and your overall health picture. So I think that's a really great education piece for people. And then my other really favorite book is called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer.
Yes,
which I think
read it.
Yeah.
And it keeps coming up lately. It's so funny. A lot of people have been talking about the book. It's been out for years, but I've been hearing people talk about it more and more lately.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah, he came out with a second book last year, which was also amazing, called The Surrender Experiment. But the reason I like The Untethered Soul is because our health isn't just what we eat and our activity every day. It's also very much a spiritual and emotional component to our well-being. How we feel internally. Our emotions are chemicals after all, so they do impact everything else in the book. And in the crazy world that we live in, we can get caught up in all of that and the stories and the chatter, and it contributes to sometimes more anxiety and other health issues and makes us not feel centered and grounded, which can then lead to us not making healthy choices. So there's a lot of great books out there that address how do you ground yourself and how do you stay connected and how do you keep yourself taken care of. But I love The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. I feel that it's not too eccentric, you know, and it's not too woo-woo out there, but it brings spirituality into a very palatable and understandable language that is easy to read,
Yeah, it's
but
pretty easy
very
read.
profound. And so I find that just such a great book. So that's my other favorite book that I recommend for people.
And then going back to Wheat Belly, because that is an incredible book also, and definitely recommended for people researching gluten. Let's talk about going back to gluten a little
Yeah.
bit. So you say, so there's people that, you know, are completely allergic, cannot have it, they get deathly ill. Then there's people
Yes.
that are sensitive to it, and then there's the rest of us, or you're saying just no gluten, we should be
So this is great. So there's definitely a wide spectrum and different ways to look at gluten, how it affects you. So first there's the celiac disease picture, which is the people who get deathly ill. And even with the celiac picture, we see this spectrum of if you eat it, you will end up in the hospital and have parts of your intestines removed. But there's people who still have celiac, but they're kind of over here where they're just getting stomach aches and, you know, maybe abnormal bowel habits and maybe some bloating, but they are celiacs, but they aren't deathly ill. And either way, there's a very potent immune reaction that's causing destruction of the lining of the GI tract. So those people for sure stay away from the gluten. And then there's the group of people who have an allergy, but it's not actually an autoimmune reaction related to the celiacs. And this is causing chronic inflammation. And it's amazing how it can come out, because most people are like, well, I eat it and I feel fine. I don't get bloated or constipated or any of these things you commonly hear about it.
Yeah.
But you can read their markers and their inflammation is through the roof, even though they have no GI symptoms. And what is important to be aware of is that when you eat gluten, because we know that the gluten proteins will bind to certain receptors in the brain, they're also part of our addictive receptors, so there's a big addiction piece to it. But we see people with brain fog, lack of focus, headaches, joint pain, skin rashes, sinus issues, maybe no GI symptoms, but all these other things that can be related to a gluten allergy. And then that's something that we can measure in a blood test. And then we have sort of a third group of people where they're just sensitive, where nothing's showing up on the allergy marker, but they know if they eat it, they're maybe a little bit more constipated that day or a little bit more tired that day, and they probably shouldn't be eating it either. Now, in general, most of us actually don't do great on gluten. No matter which category you fall into, even if you fall into none of those categories, you know, and in the end, you know, pizza's good. I'll admit it. My family's from New England. Pizza out there is really good. You know, I like to have a piece once in a while. Luckily, there's tons of gluten-free options out there these days. But for the most part, people would do better if they stayed away from it, because we do know that it binds to certain receptors in the brain that have this addictive quality and can impact mental focus and function. There's a huge correlation with the gut health and the brain health and the rest of the endocrine system, and we see gluten interfering with that. Plus, you know, it's a carb and a starch, and, you know, we don't need those extra ones.
I know, right?
Plus, you know, what Wheat Belly talks about as well is it goes into the whole idea that the gluten is a highly GMO crop. You know, it's a big GMO crop. And one of the claims that the author of Wheat Belly discusses is how the wheat that's grown today, the plants are shorter, they're denser, they're coarser, the bread that's produced is lighter and fluffier, where, you know, 30, 50 years ago, it was these tall plants and they were much more spread out and they were lighter and it created this dense bread. So we're being told that it's still the same, still wheat, but yet they look very much different because we've genetically modified them in good cause. You know, we're trying to solve the world hunger problem, but is it the same plant? And is that actually causing other problems that we haven't quite uncovered yet?
Yeah, that's a good point too.
Yeah.
And for the audience, so in 2 sentences, define gluten. You know, there's so many
good
people
question.
that
Yeah, lots of people don't know what it is. Yeah, good
myself
question.
included. Every time somebody
Yes.
asks, I'm like, wait, how do I
Yes.
verbalize this exactly? How do I-
Yeah. So gluten is one, and this is the interesting piece. So one of the proteins contained in wheat and wheat products. There's also many other proteins, including gliadin and non-gluten proteins and glutenin, but gluten is the primary protein that is found in wheat and other products. So you'll see it in rye, wheat products, spelt, which is an ancient wheat but still has gluten in it. And there's those are probably the biggest ones you're gonna find. So things that don't have gluten are buckwheat, and even though it says wheat, doesn't have gluten.
Nice.
Buckwheat, amaranth, millet, quinoa, rice, corn, all don't have gluten. Oats technically are inherently gluten-free, though you have to specifically get gluten-free oats because they're grown in the same fields as wheat in the United States, and so they're often contaminated.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
So good. We always want to break that down.
Yeah.
So what would be your number one like health or happiness hack for the audience? Like something they can literally implement immediately.
Yeah, that's such a good question, and you had told me that we'd be talking about this, and I gave it a lot of thought, and I'm like, oh, there's so many things. There's so many things.
Okay, you can do more than one.
I have this list of people. I said, if you just want your basic feel good things, like here are my recommended things that you should take. But when I thought about it and broke it down, what I came to the conclusion of is cooking at home more often, because then you're getting whole cooked foods, which is really important. You're avoiding processed and packaged foods. You're not eating out and getting all that extra added sugar and gluten. And it's so nice when you have a significant other or a family at home to make it a family affair. And then, because it's really important, right? That love and connection, and cooking together and eating together without the TV on, and which a lot of us are guilty of.
The cell phones,
right?
It's not even TV as much these days. I think it's the cell phone more than anything at the table.
Right. Yeah. Totally. And because what I find when I work with my patients is that ultimately what it comes down to is what you're eating every day. That makes the biggest impact on your health. What are you eating every day? What are you choosing to put in your body every day that's benefiting you or harming you? And a lot of times we live in these crazy worlds where people are eating out all the time. They're buying packaged processed foods and frozen dinners. And, that happens. It's life. We live in a chaotic, busy world. And, we have moms who've got 3 kids running around at home and a job and all these things. And so it's hard. But if we could slow down and actually make some home-cooked meals and sit around the table and enjoy our home-cooked meals, I think that would make such a big difference for people, because you're avoiding all of these things that we shouldn't be eating, and you're making that connection, which is just as important as anything else.
I love that. And then what's some advice, and I didn't prep you for this, but I'm just curious, on sleep, because I just hear so many different things.
Yeah.
On the amount of sleep people need. Is everybody different?
Everybody's different. That is for sure. I know personally I'm great on 9 hours. I'm a 9-hour girl. 8 to 9. Research, the most research supports a minimum of 7.5 hours of sleep. Yeah. So for everybody, at least 7.5 hours of sleep. One of, I have patients that come in, they're like, oh no, I get 5 or 6 hours of sleep at night and I'm fine. It's totally fine and I can just keep on going. I'm like, okay, well, let's see what your adrenal glands look like, because that's not sustainable. It's just not sustainable.
And do you see those markers once you run those reports? It's like, oh, whoa, your adrenals are out of control.
Yeah, they're either way too high or they're crashed out and burned. But sleep is how we restore. And that's, I tell people all the time, they come in and they're tired and they're fatigued and they have these issues and they just wish that they could, they just want to feel like their old selves again. And I say this almost every day. If I could tell you, take 6 months off, go lay on a beach somewhere and sleep, you will feel so much better. And you will. Now, that doesn't exist for most people. That's not usually a reality. But sleep, that's how the body restores, it heals, it regenerates. It's really, really important for the adrenal glands to get that sleep, to reset every day. And when we don't get, so the adrenal glands, for anybody who doesn't know, are glands that produce our stress hormones, primarily cortisol. So when the car cuts you off on the freeway and you go like this, that's your adrenal glands kicking in, and they're what keeps us going every day. Boom, boom, especially in this chaotic world where the phone is ringing and you got emails going on, you have an appointment to get to, and the kids, and so our adrenals are always stressed out a little bit, and the sleep at the end of the day is so important for that. And you need to get through 2 REM cycles which on average is 4 hours each, which is why 8 hours is that magic number that you hear about. But some people are 3.5 each. I'm pretty sure I'm 4.5 each. And everybody's different, but I would say 7.5 hours, no cell phones, no TVs in the bedroom, because that will interfere with your sleep. Quiet, dark room as well. And trying to get to bed every night at about the same time and get up about the same time every day as well is good for the health.
7 days a week and just have that rhythm.
Yeah. I mean, obviously things happen, but
yeah, I know, right?
On average, on our daily routines, that should be part of the norm.
Cool. And then what's a main thing people are coming to you for? What's the number one ailment or pain, or is it lack of energy?
Fatigue is a huge one that people come to me before, but also hormone balancing. And there's lots of reasons for that, but I treat a lot of women in that perimenopause, menopause range, and I treat a ton of young women with PMS and fertility issues. And I love doing it, and it's what my residency was in and what I focused on for years. And part of the reason I'm passionate about it too is because, could be a whole other show, the environmental toxins that we're exposed to every day. We have so much in our environment, 1,000 times more toxins are we exposed to than what our grandparents were exposed to 100 years ago because of the world that we live in. And as we're learning more and more about these chemicals that we're putting out, they are extremely harmful to our reproductive health. And they have direct impacts on our estrogen metabolism and female reproductive hormones specifically. And so I feel really strongly about how these chemicals are impacting my patients and women coming in with these chronic PMS and irregular cycles and fertility issues, and women going through perimenopause and menopause. And so much of it is just because of the world that we live in. And so being able to show people that the environment that we have created around us, which is nobody's fault, it's just the world we live in, is having a negative impact, and how to address that. Which I will say real quickly, the environmentalworkinggroup.org, EWG.org, has tons of great free resources on where you can learn more about these chemicals that impact your health and how to get them out of your household and out of your life, and alternatives that are safe for you. It's a nonprofit organization. I refer people to this every day. Nice. I print out material for it every day. I use it for myself, and I'm like, I want a new eyeliner, and I'll Google what a safe makeup is or cleaning products are. But I would say that's probably one of my next number one big tips, is check that website out, because if you get rid of the toxins in your environment, it's going to make a huge difference for you. And EWG.org is a great free resource for that.
Oh, cool. I didn't even know about that one. I'm going to check that out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they're awesome. They're super awesome. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So definitely let the audience know, Brooke, how they can best get in touch with you or find you. Yeah.
If you guys want to come see our office, try out a vitamin injection, or get a consult with me, you can check out our website. That's koiwellbeing.com, KOIWELLBEING.com. Lots of great information. You can also call our front desk, and Jacqueline, who is my amazing nurse, who I love, shout out to Jacqueline for taking care of me every day. Awesome. The number is 858-257-2808.
Perfect. And thank you so much, you guys, for listening or watching this show today that we do every week. We just, again, want to get right when Brooke came in, I was so excited, because I'm like, yes, we just can get your amazing knowledge out, worldwide. It doesn't have to necessarily just be for San Diego.
And education, that's my most passionate thing. It's about understanding and having that education so that you can take the power into your own hands to take care of yourself.
Yes, from, incredible sources of knowledge like yourself. So I really appreciate it. Today was our first, and we're excited because now we're filming this episode at our Chateau Valley location for Eco Chateau. So that was fun.
Yeah, this is such a great location.
Yeah, thanks. So definitely subscribe to our show if you haven't yet. Definitely feel free to leave any comments below, any future topics you'd like to discuss. Again, San Diego is such a hotbed for health and wellness professionals. So it's like, okay, just let me know what topic, and we'll try to bring somebody in that could speak specifically on that. And until next time, thanks so much, you guys. Bye. Thanks.